This is based on Upon the Burning of Our House by Bradstreet.
We will now be interviewing Anne Bradstreet. Hello, Anne. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. We're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Anne, how did you respond when you realized that your house was burning down around you and that all your possessions would be lost?
I was devastated. When I realized that our house was burning down, I prayed to God that He might not leave me alone to face this. After I got my family out of our house, I sat and cried for a very long time. I felt hopeless and wanted to turn back time. Thankfully, I changed my views of this tragedy for the better.
What happened to change your views?
When I visited the place where my house once stood, I went and sat next to the ashes. Moments later, I started bawling uncontrollably, and it was at this moment I realized I was upset for nothing. I understood that I didn't need material possessions to be happy.
Why do you believe that material possessions aren't necessary to be happy?
Well, at first I was sad that no more memories would be made in my house, and that I had lost all my possessions, but I realized that things I had thought I had lost were not mine in the first place. They were God's. I felt peace knowing that I'd been strong and that I would be rewarded in heaven. All I have will be lost when I die, my faith and my family, and all I need to be happy.
Why do you think your house burned down?
I'm not really sure, but maybe God was trying to make me a stronger person, or help me become closer to Him.
How did the rest of your family react to your home and all their possessions burning?
Well, my husband was distraught. He felt very upset about our house and possessions turning to dust. He was worried that because all the crops were lost, it would be difficult for us to survive. Thankfully, our neighbors took us in and allowed us to stay as long as we needed. Our children were upset, but they were still very young, so they did not really understand what happened.
What happened after your house burned down?
My family and I went to live with our neighbors, the Hales. They treated us with kindness and compassion, but I could tell we were all very heartbroken about our tragedy. We lost everything we had in the fire. Our sons were unable to get education because all our money and crops were lost.
What was life like at the Hales?
Well, at first it was kind of hectic because I was used to getting up at 5, but for whatever reason, Mr. Hale liked to wake his children up at 4 to help him. I was so exhausted later in the day, when I was helping Mrs. Hale with the chores, I kept falling asleep. After a few weeks, I started going to bed earlier so I wasn't so exhausted. And my husband had to help Mr. Hale with the farm work and chopping wood. After a few weeks, my husband began to feel quite homesick, and he told me he wished that we could all just go home and have things the way they were before. Despite our sadness, we both remained very grateful to the Hales and strong in our faith.
Did you have any problems with Mrs. Hale?
Well, she was very strict with her children, and she started to tell my children what to do. I politely said that she should let me mother my own children. But despite this, I just felt an enormous amount of gratitude towards the Hales for allowing us to stay with them.
Did you eventually come back and build your home?
No, we decided to escape the sad memory of our home burning to the ground. Even though our neighbors were willing to help us any way they could, we felt it was best to move on. We moved to a small village in Connecticut where we built a new house and planted crops.
Was it difficult starting over in Connecticut when you had just planted your crops before your house burned down?
Well, we only moved from England about a year ago to escape religious persecution. Last year it had been an especially cold fall, and we couldn't get all our crops in early enough before the first snow. We needed these crops to thrive because we had little money to buy even the most basic necessities. Fortunately, after our house burned down, my husband inherited a large amount of money, so we were able to build a house after we moved to Connecticut.
Well, Anne, it was great having you here. That was quite an ordeal. Thank you.
Goodbye.